All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to, this is actually class 10. 10. So we have 4 more classes to go. The next class is actually the last teaching session. And we're gonna have a special guest presenter who's gonna come to talk to us about reputation management. And then after that, we have 2 more classes, but the last 2 classes will be, no, actually today is the 11th class, that's all. Anyways, the last 2 classes will be presentation, but there will be no class next week, Monday, because if I'm not mistaken, next week, Monday is a holiday. I think next week, Monday is a holiday, if I'm not mistaken. Right. So there's no class next week, Monday, but we'll have class the Wednesday and then the following week, Monday, and then that's it. Right. Thank God for all these holidays. Oh, the last one was the 10th, so today's 11th class. Yes, that makes sense. Today, because then Wednesday's class is 12. But guys, we are gonna jump right in today. We're talking about branding. One of my, it's a mixed bag for me with branding, because the thing is, a lot of people come to digital marketing sessions and stuff wanting to talk about branding because they think that's the major thing in digital marketing. But as we're going to go through today, you're going to realize that digital marketing and digital branding are 2 different things, similar but different. And we're going to look at what those differences are. And we have 4 case studies, 3 case studies to look at, and they're all very interesting. If you have been in my social media course, one of these case studies you would have seen before. But I am ready to get started. So let me share my screen so we can go. Okay, guys, if you have headphones, please to put in your headphones, because there's some video and audio that I'm going to be playing for you today that I want you to hear. And I want you, while we're going through today, I want you to think of some of your favorite brands. That's what I want you to think about as we go through today, because I'm going to be asking you some questions as we go through to see if you can recognize certain things in how they brand themselves and in their marketing that is steeped in branding philosophy and psychology. All right, then. So good morning again, guys, and let's jump right into it. So what is digital branding? We always start out with a definition to kind of set the stage. So this one is rather long, but while doing research for today's class and updating information, because we would have taught this class last year, I realized, and this is something that is so common in the digital space, marketing space, things change. It's very fluid. Things are changing as platform change. Even definitions of things change as platform change. That's the nature of technology, right? And so I found this definition of digital branding, and we're specifically talking about digital branding, which is just branding online, as with everything in digital marketing is just marketing online. But as I was going through and I was looking at this today, I realized that even the definition of digital branding has undergone several iterations, right? And so generally today, when we're talking about digital branding, what we're talking about is your online brand identity. In a nutshell, that's what we're referring to. And so digital branding is the process of using your digital assets. And, by digital assets, we mean both your platforms and your content, your management tools, etc., to create an identity online using virtual or digital channels, your website, social media profiles, digital ads, content. And you're using all of these tools and these assets to formulate an identity for your brand or your business. Now, if you get this right, if you get digital branding right, a few things will happen, right? You can create better marketing campaigns, and you can build a more powerful presence in the digital sphere, but that will also translate very well offline as well. So the change that I've seen in digital branding is that it doesn't stay online only. In fact, a lot of what happens in the digital branding space tends to affect what happened in the real world. Like, for instance, a process we call debranding. And this was something that I had put in the main group a few weeks ago, when brands are now altering their physical representation. And we're going to talk about that physical presentation. We're going to talk about that right after this, to better fit their online presentation. And why are they doing that? Well, because more people are going online. That's usually the answer to all of this. More people are using online platforms, and because more people are using online platforms, it makes sense for brands to go where the people are and present themselves in a way where it's consistent with their physical real world branding, but also creates better experiences for persons online, because chances are the majority of people that comes across this brand is going to come across them online. You will probably never walk into a Gucci store or never walk into a Louis Vuitton store, but you probably buy stuff from them online. We'll probably never walk into any some of these restaurants that you see online, some of these museums, whatever the brand business is. You'll probably never physically have an opportunity. You'll never have an opportunity to physically visit a store because it's probably in another country, right? But the experience you have of them online can really turn you into a loyal customer. And that's pretty much the whole point of digital branding, right? So of course, there's some few keywords that I want to highlight, like digital assets. By digital assets, of course, we're talking about platforms, like we said down here, website, your social media platforms, your apps, but it also includes the creation process, the content creation process. That's also assets that you have. And if you remember when we were talking about owned, paid, and earned media, it's pretty much what we mean. We mean the assets that you own, assets that you create for paid promotions or digital ads, as well as assets that are earned because you have a presence online, and for whatever reason, you've positioned yourself in such a way that persons want to talk about you. And because of that, now you are getting free publicity pretty much in the online space, right? And of course, it talks about an online brand identity, because what will happen sometimes too is that established entity will take on a different or a slightly adjusted online personality or identity, because it's the first time that some of these big established businesses have an opportunity to actually communicate in real time with their customers. So walking into a Wendy's, you just go in there, you buy your burger, you buy whatever, you come out. But Wendy's online is an interactive experience where you can talk to, quote unquote, somebody there. They're responding, they're communicating, they're answering DMs, they're retweeting, etc. So an online brand identity tends to take on a more communicative, more interactive approach than the physical presence, but they still maintain that identity, whether in the real world or online. There's still that foundational identity that they're just building on, because in the online space, if you're not responsive, if you're not interactive, and if you're not communicating on these communication channels, then why are you even there? Like, why? Right? And of course, a richer digital marketing campaigns. What do we mean? Well, digital marketing, remember we said there was the organic, which was the content marketing, the social media marketing, even some parts of email marketing, website marketing is organic. But then you have the paid marketing. So the pay per click, the Google ads, all of that, right? And so what you can do in terms of marketing online, you don't have that same kind of flexibility in the real world. Why? Because you don't have access to as many people. You don't have access to as much data that can allow you to personalize a message or craft a special message for a special audience segment, which makes it a more richer experience for that audience, right? You can't necessarily do that online. And because you offline, I mean, and online, there are just more places you can go, more things that you can do, more ways, more the different types of content that you can create. It's just a richer experience, right? And of course, all of that, what all of that does is it kind of builds out your brand, right? And it kind of shows it. Being online allows you to express your brand even more, express your business even more, humanize your business because you're talking to people, right? Make your business more representative of the audience that you are targeting. And we're going to talk about representation in a minute. So let's talk about the difference between digital branding and digital marketing, because these are two things that can sometimes get confused. But just bear in mind that what you're marketing is your brand or your business, right? So with digital marketing, what you're talking about are really strategic activities that as a brand or business you undertake, and the real goal is to capture leads and sell more stuff. That's the real goal with marketing. You want to generate leads, capture those leads, convert those leads. That's really what you're trying to do with digital marketing. But with digital branding, you're going just a little bit deeper, because now you're trying to understand, okay, who are these people? How do they think? What are their values? How do they identify? What sort of things represent them? And then you're positioning your brand or your business to be psychologically attractive. You want to get them in here. So marketing kind of gets them here and here, but branding gets them in here. You wanna stick yourself in their brain, kind of, right? And then on the other hand, you also want to deepen relationships that you have with existing customers. So once upon a time, what used to happen is I'll walk in your store, I'll buy something, and I would never hear from you, or you would never hear from me until I walk into your store again, or I call, right? Now I can walk into your store, buy something, go home, try it on, it doesn't fit, message you on Instagram and go, hey guys, bought this, doesn't fit. Can I return it, or can I get an exchange or whatever? You can have that conversation right there, right? And so you can now have a better relationship with your existing customers. You can check up on them. You can rebuild, not even rebuild, but you can retarget existing customers, right? Because remember that we said that conversion should not be the end, because then you don't just want one-off sales, and that it is cheaper to keep customers than to keep having to acquire new customers. Because acquiring new customers means you have to be spending more time and effort and money on marketing, right? And so with digital branding, what you're trying to do is put yourself in a position where if this person wants this thing, they think of you. Or if this person has it's more of an emotional connection, let's just say, that you're trying to create with your audience. And so over here we have this graphic, and what this graphic kind of highlights are some of the components of digital branding in terms of some of the things that you can achieve with digital branding, right? So they talk about value and trust, but it's also your identity, right? It's also a part of your marketing strategy. It's also a part of your advertising strategy. And so with all of these things, what you are doing is you're saying, hey, this is us, this is what we stand for, this is what we represent, this is how we can help you. So when you hear a brand say, oh, we are an organic brand, or we are an eco-friendly brand, or we don't use parabens, or we don't test our products on animals and stuff, That's a value that they are putting forward to say, this is who we are and what we represent. And so persons who share those same values and attitudes will be attracted to a brand that they feel represents that. And let's look into that a little bit. So let's talk about brand perception, because brand perception is a huge part of digital branding, right? Even more so online than really offline, because as I said, online, you get a better opportunity to understand a brand and how they operate. So when we're talking about brand perception, we're not only talking about what your company says it represents, because it's all well and good to say, oh, we are warriors and we recycle and blah, blah. It's all well and good for you to say it. It's very different from what your customers believe you are based on the experiences that they have had of you and what you not just say you represent, but what your actions also speaks louder than what you say you represent, right? So remember that long time saying action speaks louder than words. The same thing goes for brands. So what you say you represent, if it doesn't align with what your customers believe you represent, then there's a disconnect and your marketing is not going to be effective because your branding is incoherent, it's incohesive, right? And so what you're trying to represent to people when you're talking about brand perception, you're talking about your identity, who you are as a brand, what message, the messaging you're putting out and how you're putting it out as a tone, the representations that you are making, again, eco-friendly, climate-friendly, less carbon footprints, that kind of thing. And you're also looking at the experiences that the customers have. So all these things are what your customer, your potential customers, your audience are looking at. They're looking at what you physically look like, what they feel about you, what is your messaging actually saying. So when Coca-Cola, or was it Pepsi? No, when Pepsi decided that in the middle of Black Lives Matter, they were going to have a commercial with Kylie Jenner walking up to a policeman in the middle of a protest, because the commercial was a protest, walking up to a policeman and handing him a Pepsi, and all of a sudden all is right with the world. It was instant backlash because it was tone deaf. The messaging was off. The representation was off because clearly they were trying to effect the Black Lives Matter rallies and march with this white girl who's supposed to represent Black people. Nobody understood what that was about. And so instant backlash. When Shea Moisturizer decided that now they have a lot of white people money, and so they're going to go and make products for white people and have white people in a commercial talking about hair issues. And oh, my hair is so long, I can hardly brush it. And Black people are going, really? Like, for real? Like, we're doing this? Instant backlash because of how Shea Moisture originally represented themselves and what they came to represent to the Black community, which was a brand started by Black people, and most of their customer base was Black. Their products was for Black hair, and then they got some white investors, and then they went left, and it's not been the same since. Okay, so we have to be careful what we say that what we say we represent actually manifests itself in the perception of your customers. Another brand that really suffered is Blackberry. And I want to show you this article from Marketing Dive, and they were looking at the biggest challenge that Blackberry had. And what they're saying is that the biggest challenge was building a brand that resonates. So this says that Blackberry faces with its new Blackberry 10 devices, a brand that resonates with customers and enterprises at a time when both Apple and Samsung have already won the hearts and wallets of users, right? Now, scrolling down, it says branding is becoming more important in the handset space, said Michael Morgan, analyst at ABI Research New York. It is almost becoming, in some ways, the key determiner of success because a lot of these devices are very homogenized. And what do we mean by homogenized? After subjected to a process, uniformed or similar. So what they're talking about is that how can you tell one smartphone different from another smartphone? The branding. That's really the big difference, right? Of course, we can quibble about the features of one and the features of the other, but most of them come from the same manufacturers using the same parts. Did you know that iPhones use Samsung parts? Yes, Samsung sell iPhone parts for their phones. So it is very different a lot of times to tell the difference, but very difficult to tell the difference from one smartphone to the next. And the only major difference is the brand. And this is where Blackberry screwed up, right? Blackberry lost market share in mobile over the past couple of years because the space evolved to be much more consumer driven. And until recently, Blackberry devices did not offer the features that consumers are looking for, such as touchscreens. It's the exact same thing that happened with Nokia. The failure to adjust, the failure to predict consumer behavior, the failure to decipher what was a trend from what was a fad, from what was going to stay around, kind of screwed Blackberry. Because think about how Blackberry started, right? Blackberry was a professional brand for high-end executives, right? It was tantamount to the Lincoln. I don't know if you guys know that car brand Lincoln, right? You think of a Lincoln and you think of like the old-time Mercedes-Benz, those square ones. What you think of? You think of businessmen, executive, you know, that kind of look, right? They always had Blackberries, right? But those only appeal to a particular group of people. When smartphones became widely available to everybody and Blackberry decided that they were going to keep the buttons instead of a touch screen, they were going to keep those buttons and then did not adjust to the demands, consumer demands. And because of that, they met their demise. I mean, Blackberry is still around every now and again to put out something, but certainly at one point, Blackberry dominated the market. And then this is another thing that happened. Because Blackberry started out as a high-end executive thing, once it became more mainstream, the original customer base kind of abandoned it because it was no longer exclusive. But Blackberry was trying to hold on to that perception of exclusivity to its own detriment because people had long moved past that. People had long moved past this. And then Samsung came in and it was a phone for everybody and every personality and every identity type, you know. And then Apple came in and kind of replaced Blackberry with that exclusive high-end kind of thing. Apple completely came in and took over. Right? And so Blackberry was not able to adjust. Their branding was off. It was still old. It was still clunky. It was still, even that aside, Blackberry didn't market to the right people either. As I said, they lost their original customer base and just could not adjust, right? And so they lost market share because of that. But then we have some local brands that we want to look at, right? And so I want to talk about cable and wireless because cable and wireless has a history. And as we go through, you're going to see that this history has, in some ways, haunted them. And so let's look at it. Cable and wireless came to Jamaica in the 1980s, right? But prior to 1999, the Jamaican telecommunications sector was dominated by C&WJ because in 1988, they were given an exclusive license for 25 years. So that's valid until 2013 with options for extension. So they were going to have a monopoly for 20 years, 25 years with an extension 25, so 50 years technically, right? So what this licensing did was made them the exclusive sole provider of telecoms in Jamaica. And they were guaranteed a profit, which means that they were allowed to do anything they had to do to make a profit, right? The minister with responsibility for telecommunications at the time had the authority to establish minimum standards of service quality. So pretty much Cable and Wireless regulated itself with limited government intervention or supervision. Now, times changed. The telecommunications industry was evolving rapidly because technology, right? But C&WJ was not evolving with the times, at least not as quickly, because why should they? They had a monopoly. We basically had to take what we get. There was no, oh, let us see how we can upgrade. For why? They just gotta have to deal with it. Because why should we spend the money to upgrade or do nothing? Who gonna compete? There is no competition until the government said, you remember that license that you had? Yeah, we're gonna want that back. What kind of change your mind? I want to take it back, right? And so realizing that the telecommunication space needed to be more competitive because we needed upgrades to the telecommunications sector and to move Jamaica towards a more knowledge-based connected society. I want you to see from how far back we're talking about knowledge-based connected society. This is pretty much the same thing we're talking about today, but haven't done. But that's a tangent. So it embarked on an effort to liberalize the telecommunications industry. And basically, what liberalize means is that they take back their license. That's pretty much what liberalizing the telecommunications industry means. They took back their license and now competition, right? And so what happened? Cable and Wireless decided that it was going to rebrand, right? So they moved from Cable and Wireless to now Lime. Today and going forward, we're no longer Cable and Wireless, said country manager Tony Rich. We're Lime. However, the name changed to Lime, an acronym for Landline Internet Mobile Entertainment. Listen, Caribbean people, we love a good acronym, don't we? Landline Internet Mobile Entertainment is not just a rebranding exercise, but a company transformation, said Mr. Rich. Lime is new and different, with a new and different approach. It's about changing the way we do business and how we operate. Interesting. Our language is going to change. Our posture is going to change. And how we relate to our customers will change. But this is the thing that people fail to understand. You can change the name of your brand. You can change your colors. You can even change your tagline, logo, everything. People don't forget because we're people. And people know that this is Cable and Wireless in new pretty clothes. And people are like, still no, not really, not quite. Because on top of that, did they really change though? Did they? Mr. Rich says, Lime will bring with it a new business culture. It doesn't really bear. And this is how you know that they know they had a reputation and a branding problem. This is what he says. It doesn't really bear a lot of resemblance to Cable and Wireless, he said. Lime is not Cable and Wireless. Mr. Abinor said, Lime will do away with stuffy, slow-moving, and reactive culture of Cable and Wireless and replace it with a younger, proactive, and fun business culture that focus on the customer. So they knew they had a reputation problem, and they knew they had a branding problem, and they could identify exactly what those problems were, but they never changed until competition. So the name Lime was suggested because some cable and wireless employee. So this is the thing. They're not Lime. They're not cable wireless. They're Lime, but they still have the same employees, same management, same everything. Interesting. And it's so Lime, you know, Jamaican people, Caribbean people say, well, Lime, meaning we get together, we'll have fun. So that's where the name Lime was supposedly came from. So it only lasted for like 6 years. November 2008. This article was talking about how cable and wireless was referred to as careless and worthless, or cable and worthless. Yeah. But it didn't last long. It only lasted 6 years because, again, competition, and they could not shake the original cable and wireless reputation and brand representation. They couldn't shake it. And one of the reasons why they couldn't shake it is because it was the same people. It was the exact same people. So they said the culture, remember a while ago we talked about what you say you represent is different from how your customers perceive you. So then came Flow. Lime customers ranked Flow higher against positive brand attributes, including innovation, value for money, customer focus, going the extra mile. Now, this was before Flow was Flow. This was when Flow, I think, what was Flow formerly? I forgot what the name of the company was before, but Flow before was a cable company, if I'm not mistaken, and then they were bought out and turned into Flow. So Flow wasn't the original name, right? And so Flow came on the scene to replace Lime. According to Silvera, Flow customers already have a strong brand image association with positive attributes, right? A brand I can associate with a customer-focused brand. Now, remember, for some reason, I'm forgetting what the name of the company was that got bought out, but they had a really good reputation. Again, they were a cable company. They had a really good reputation. So a lot of this association and stuff that was happening was because of their prior business operations in the cable sector. We're going to see that this reputation changes over time. This perception, changes over time, right? And Flow became Slow. Watch nothing happen, which I just always think is hilarious. Because the reputation that the company had before did not follow it over, did not transition over when it became Flow and became a replacement for cable and wireless and Lime. Because the reputation of cable and wireless compounded by the reputation of Lime was brought over into Flow, meaning that it didn't change. People still thought this is just cable and wireless in a different with a different look, right? And then the reviews started coming in, and after a while, this was 2020, after a while, the reputation just fell completely, right? The reviews are just terrible. People want to get refund. And if you look at what the complaints are, you'll realize that they have not changed much. It's the same slow responsiveness that Mr. Rich was talking about, stuffiness, slowness to respond, not customer focused. Yeah, same problems, exact same problems plaguing Flow, coming all the way back from cable and wireless, plaguing Flow. But this is the thing. If Flow was a new company, people would be more willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. Because why? We never had a history with them. They're new. Give them a chance. Give them a chance. But because there was this history, this perception was already cemented, right? Rebranding did not help. The brand was already damaged, and that damaged brand and perception has been plaguing the company ever since. Even when it stopped being Cable and Wireless because they were delisted from the stock exchange, they no longer exist. They were bought out a couple times over that reputation. The brand perception never changed. Cable and Wireless, a local telecoms with a checkered reputation from its past days as a powerful telephone monopoly, would have celebrated 30 years. Instead, the current owner of the company that has gone through various name changes, rebrandings, and takeovers over time has formally told the Jamaica Stock Exchange that it will delist. I think this was 2 years ago. So that is the history of flow of Cable and Wireless. Because then what happened? Before we leave here, what happened? Digicel came on the scene. And the funny thing is that the person who was responsible for, I think he was part of the marketing team for Cable and Wireless, when Digicel was coming in, they pulled him in from Digicel, right? From Cable and Wireless, sorry. And he was now responsible for the marketing and the branding of Digicel. So they used a local person who understands the telecommunication space, who knew what the problems were with these entities in the current space, and decided that, here what? We're going to go different. We're going to use the red, green, and the black and stuff because we want to ingratiate ourselves in the culture. We want to steep ourselves in the culture, right? And so Digicel took on an extraordinary marketing campaign when it came in Jamaica. And in absolutely no time, they were the #1 telecommunications because people were jumping ship. And even today, the Digicel, when it just came in, is not the same Digicel. Now, Digicel also suffers from a reputation and branding problem now. But Digicel has not gotten the same amount of backlash, the same amount of criticism, the same amount of skepticism that Flow gets. And in a lot of ways, it's not really Flow's fault. Yes, they have problems with their customer service, but they were always doomed to be looked at in a bad light. Whereas Digicel have the same problems that Flow is now having, but you find harsher criticism. People are still going, you know what? Oh, I'm still gonna go with Digicel, cause. So there's a history of trauma and pain and that perception and that association with the brand Cable and Wireless has followed all their rebrandings and takeovers and name changes right throughout. And even if Flow changed name tomorrow, they're going to have the same problem because people are just always going to look at them skeptically. They're not going to get the benefit of the doubt, and there's always going to be preconceived notions about what the company is. And that's what branding does, right? That's what perception does. And it's psychological. And we're going to talk about the psychology of branding. But before we do we have any questions? I'm looking at your comments in the chat. So Kevin Jackson says, yep, one of the definitions for branding is how your customers think about you. Once they think poorly of you, rebranding can change your reputation. And sometimes too, guys, it's how long the negative perceptions of your brand was allowed to steep and was allowed to exist. Because once you realize that, and this is why social listening is important, and this is why online has really saved a lot of businesses, because granted, before there were no tools for them to really listen to see what was being said, although Jamaicans were very vocal with how they felt about cable and wireless. I mean, they knew we didn't like them. They knew they were not liked, but we never had a choice. And so the exorbitant fees and the bad service, we know, right? Now we have social listening tools, which means that we can know quickly what people think about us, why they think this way about us. And so we can make these changes almost in real time, right? And so once you can get in front of it quickly, you can rebrand. You can rebrand. Now it's easier to rebrand now, right? But before it wasn't. I mean, but then again, I mean, what has Flow really done to, there's that as well. Right. So cable and wireless had like 30 years of bad reputation. Yeah, they had the reputation was at that point well established. There was no trying to mitigate. They didn't do anything to change the reputation because they had a monopoly. They didn't have to. Okay. They didn't have to. Guys, I'm glad you mentioned culture, Kevin Jackson. I want you to keep that word in your mind, culture. We're going to talk about that in a minute. All right, guys, any questions about what we spoke about just now in terms of brand perception, reputation? Because brand perception and reputation has a lot to do with your branding. It can affect your branding. And that's why on Wednesday, we're going to go into reputation a lot more on Wednesday. All right, I don't see any questions. We're Q&A. How does one turn around a bad reputation like Flow? What would you advise? Not the forum. It's not a matter of what I would advise. As I said, Dana, they allowed it to continue. They allowed that reputation to fester. And they didn't make any real significant moves to change it because they did not have to. In 2022, with all the options we have, you better come correct because ain't nobody got time for that. We have options. Right? And so in 2022, you have a lot more, and for some time now, you have a lot more opportunities to kind of get in front of it, address the issues, talk to your customers, explain the situation, beg their forgiveness, and move on, right? So when we're talking about brand psychology, what we're talking about is feelings, how we feel, right? So when we encounter brands, why we think about them, how often we think about them, what we feel about them, and how we experience them in relation to other brands has a big effect on why we choose a brand and keep on choosing a brand. And this is where brand psychology comes into play. And this is what I tell my clients, this is what I tell students all the time. You're dealing with people, and people, if not anything, are highly emotional creatures. We cannot do anything about that. That's just how we are. Logics and facts and truths aside, we are emotional beings. And so you have to talk to people as if they're emotional beings, right? And what you are trying to do is tap into that emotion. You're tapping into that emotion to try to borrow yourself, ingratiate yourself in their minds, in their psyche, right? Because that is the reason why they will choose Samsung over an Apple. And the Android community and the iOS community are oil and water, right? They are always clashing with each other. They're always, and it's really over brands. It's a branding issue. It's a reputation issue. But at the base, at the core of all of that is how they feel. It's how they feel. They feel Apple is better. They feel Samsung is better, right? Now they can give you some logical kind of reasons why, but at the end of it, is this what these phones do that is so dramatically different? Not much, depending on the model, right? So it's really how they feel, right? And even more important than how they feel, it's how the product make them feel. You having an Apple makes you feel what? We have any Apple users in the building? How many iPhone users do we have today in here today? Show yourselves. How many Apple users do we have here? One? Nicholas? Is just Nicholas? One? Oh, they're raising their hands. Okay, raise hands. Okay, drop it in the chat, guys. Drop it in the chat. I love my Apple. Okay. Anya, don't provoke. We said Apple. Nicholas have 2 Apple phones. Nicholas, I want you to quickly jump on, turn on your mic, Nicholas, because I want you, raise your hand so I can see you. I want you to tell me how the Apple phone makes you feel. How does the Apple phone make you feel? You can jump on, Nicholas.
Talk about exclusive.
It makes you feel like you have an exclusive product. What else?
I mean, luxury too. I can talk about luxury.
Okay. Yeah. What else? Just start spitting some of the emotions out. How do you, okay, first of all, how do you feel about it? How do you feel about Apple?
They can sport you like an accessory. No joke. You get me? What else I can say?
How do you feel about the brand? Why did you choose Apple phones or Apple products?
I guess because of the what I do, the graphic design and thing. The pictures, the quality better to me personally.
To you personally, that's how you feel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not much.
So you chose an Apple because in your mind you feel that the picture quality is better, and based on what you do, it's the best tool.
Yeah.
But you do use it in your personal life as well, right?
Yeah, I do.
So there's that part of it. So how do you feel about that part of it? You said that, you can use it as an accessory. There's the luxury and exclusiveness of it. Guys, what is one thing that you have not heard Nicholas say? So Trisha said, easy integration of all devices. Yeah, Trisha, just Apple. You can only integrate Apple. I'm not going to get into it. Not going to get into it. Christine says cost. Kalida said price and function. You know what I have not heard you say, Nicholas?
What's that?
Quality or function.
Yeah. You
said, yeah, the photos are better, but that's so generic. You never said quality or function. And that is interesting to me. Ricardo says the software and hardware is better. Interesting, because they get it from Samsung. So are you also saying that the Samsung software and hardware is better as well? That's interesting. They use the same software and hardware, guys. Shana K said it just bougie. Trisha says, I'm an Apple user because of the quality and ease of use. Dana says, listen, whatever works, okay? Kalida uses both because you have a lot of people who uses both, but They buy an iPhone because of one feature, but the Samsung is probably the everyday phone, and the Apple phone is for a particular feature or function or something. I use a mix, Mac, Samsung, Microsoft. Okay. All right then. My MacBook from 2008 still works. Very slow, but still works. So does my HP. Apple performs just as the other because they're equal to many others. Okay. I've never owned any other brand than Apple. Okay. Leaves me broke, but not basic. I love the FaceTime function. Okay. I mean, WhatsApp came in, and this is another reason why Blackberry failed. Guys, remember that one of the Nicholas, are you still on? Nicholas, did you have a Blackberry?
Yes, I did.
You had a Blackberry, don't?
Yeah.
I knew you had a Blackberry because you Blackberry people jump ship and went to iPhones. You all went to iPhones because Blackberry was no longer exclusive. And this is the thing too. And tell the truth, Nicholas. One of the biggest things for you with the Blackberry was a Blackberry Messenger, wasn't it?
Yep.
It was a Blackberry Messenger. But then, guys, what mash up Blackberry Messenger Dolly House? What mash up Blackberry Messenger Dolly House? WhatsApp voice over IP mash up Blackberry Messenger because you no longer had to have Blackberry Messenger to send these messages. I know you could have Vidya. So when people tell me, oh, I have Apple because I like FaceTime and I have WhatsApp, what's the point? What's the point? Right? And so you have a lot of technology that came in that replaced some of these exclusive features, right? Of these high-end phones. Thank you, Nicholas. Of these high-end phones, guys. And this is how technology evolves, right? This is how technology evolves. All right, guys. Let's not start off Samsung versus Blackberry. People still argue FaceTime as better. Listen, really? There's Skype, there's Zoom, there's WhatsApp. What's the difference, really? People are gonna always argue that the features that they like are better. It's fine. Goes back to perception. Exactly, Kimberly. It all goes back to perception and branding, because that's where the perception is formed. The branding. Look at how iPhone markets itself and the branding. Let's look at just the branding. You know what? We're going to go into the elements of branding later on. And I want you Samsung people to keep that in mind. I want you Apple people to keep in mind what we're talking about when we go into brand psychology and elements of branding, because you're going to see a lot of interesting things come out. Shauna K says it's just to feel better about their trust. Of course, we have to justify the reason why we choose a national bakery over another brand, or the reason why we choose Island Grill over KFC or whatever. We have to justify we try to rationalize these things in our head. And as Nicholas said, it's a never-ending conversation because it's all emotional. It's psychological, right? And so you can't say one is right and one is wrong. You can't say that. Oh, Lord. Chuck. You can't say one is right and one is wrong. It's how people feel, right? Kevin Jackson says, one of the things I find fascinating are companies that can have a brand that is faced online in their responses and accepted by the public. But if other companies try it, they lose clients. I have seen some companies respond in sarcastic or face manner and people love it. I would love to know how they get away with it, but others don't. Branding. Branding. What do you mean you'd love to know? It's a function of their branding. It's a function of, remember we talked about identity, messaging and tone, representation and experience. That's what that is. That's the brand's persona. It's big and brash and loud and feisty, and people love it because they see themselves reflected in that. They don't take themselves too seriously. They're cool, they're communicative, they're interactive, they're funny. You never know what will appeal to people, and that brand has been consistent. That's just how that's just how their branding has been. Now, a brand that sells phone cases or a brand that sells shoes can get away with something that a bank cannot get away with, or that a money or a financial institution cannot get away with. That's just the nature of the thing, because of the expectations that people have around certain kinds of brands and businesses. Certain brands and businesses can get away with some really weird marketing and branding. Others can't. That's the nature of branding. That's the psychology, right? So let's look into it. Let's go into the psychology of it, guys. So there is this gentleman called Kapfer, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing his name right. He came up with the whole concept of the brand identity prism, right? And basically it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts, and it's shaped like a prism. 6 parts, and he's saying these 6 things kind of make up your brand. These are the 6 things that you should pay attention to. Or these are 6 components, the 6 major components of developing a brand identity. And the first component of the brand identity, he says, is the physical identity of the brand. And what do we mean by the physical identity? So how your brand looks visually, the tangible physical characteristics of a brand. So this includes logos and colors and shapes and even the font you use in your branding is a part of your physical identity, because these colors, these shapes, and these fonts, or we call it typography, they tell people something about your brand. So let's look at this logo. This is the Kingston Creative logo. Tell me, guys, what do you see? Let's get chatty. What do you guys actually see? Put it in the chat. When you look at this logo, what do you see? Fun and exploration, expressiveness, contrast in color. Somebody says it's confusing, very colorful. So we get colorful. We get that coming through a lot. What else do you see? I see modern, fun, colorful, creativity, diversity. Okay. Trisha says it's confusing. Tamara says it's artistic. Nicholas said buildings. Nicholas, which buildings are you seeing? Let me see how well you guys are looking. Which buildings are you seeing? It looks like a factory. I don't know why people say it's confusing. I think a lot of people are not necessarily artistically inclined. I'm not sure. But I see a lighthouse. Okay. Ward Theater. Yes, Daniel, that's actually Ward Theater in the back there. So this is actually the Kingston Waterfront, downtown Kingston Waterfront. That's what this backdrop here is. It's the waterfront. It is Kingston. And the colorful nature of it with the smoke and stuff represents what the company is, which is a creative, cultural-based company that represents the creative industries in Jamaica. Hence the colorfulness. Somebody said the smoke to them represents work. Yes, Kingston Waterfront, downtown Kingston is an industrial kind of area. A business, it was formerly the business center. Before that, it was a very high-end, exclusive kind of place, very fancy. Downtown was the uptown one at one point, right? right? So Kingston Creatives also do murals and painting, which is probably why it is overlaid on what is supposed to be the buildings. So this represents a lot, right? So the physical identity of your brand can also tell people a lot of things. And this is the thing. While you can try to kind of force, not force, I don't want to use the word force, while you can try to condition your audience to see things your way, to come to adapt your perception of your business, you're dealing with people, and people have their own minds, they have their own experiences, which color the way they see things, literally, right? Somebody said it's the new modernized Kingston. That's what Kingston Creative is trying to do, right? Modernize while paying homage to the creative spirit of Jamaica, of the Caribbean. That's kind of what Kingston Creative is doing. All right. Somebody says the colors in the word Kingston can represent the company's aim to develop the creative culture in Jamaica, in Kingston. There you go. Some people look at it and see that, and other people see confusing or see other things, right? Right. And somebody says, Chantel says the choice of words, as in the name of the company, tells you exactly what they are about, right? There you go. Tamar says, I see breathing new life and color into something that has lost its color. Isn't that powerful? That's powerful. That's a powerful take, Tamar. Breathing new life and color into something that has lost its color, because the Ward Theater is sitting there now defunct, isn't it? We've been talking about renovating it and reopening it for years, and it has not been done. So there you go. Now that Kingston Creative is on the scene and they're doing massive restoration downtown, who knows? I think that was well said, Tamar. That was very, very poetically put. All right. Let's look at the other side of this prism, and it's the personality of the brand. Your brand's character and personality traits. Example, and this is what Kevin was talking about just now when he talked about brands being feisty. It's a personality, it's a characteristic, it's a trait, right? Sophisticated, professional, we can add feisty to it, right? This element is often conveyed in what, Kevin? The brand's voice, which means the messaging, the tone, the language that the brand uses. But a brand's design assets play an important role as well, right? So let's look at this fascinating website that I came across some time ago, and I just thought, this is amazing. So guys, this is toyfight.co. And if we go to what they do, we collaborate with brands and agencies to create member experiences. So they're a branding company. Think of us as more of a creative partner than a resource. This means we have shared perspective on how we can work together to achieve your goals. Basically, your new BFF. BFF is a slang for best friends for life, right? I think, right? But if we go back to just look at the design they use. Let's go back. Let's go back to home. The color changes, right? This is an intro, and these represent the founders of the brand. This is Toy Fight. And if we scroll down, you're scrolling through and different words are popping up. Look at the fonts they're using, look at the colors they're using, look at their logo, look at the images and the graphics that they've put together, and just look at how the website functions. While I'm going through the website, guys, I want you to tell me what are some of the things that are coming to your mind as we go through. Toy Fight is an award-winning creative agency specializing in design. We partner with global brands and emerging businesses to create exciting and meaningful experiences, whether digital or non-digital. And of course, you can see some of their recent work. Right on. All right. And this is basically You can go here, you can see some of the work that they do. Notice how the website functions, or the words go side to side based on if you're scrolling up. It says, these are just some of the different projects that they've worked on, right? We can go to who, right? And if we scroll down, we're designers, directors, strategists, and awkward dancers. So this is where the personality kind of really shines through. The entire website is a trip. It's all about personality. And when you go through the entire website, I'm going to come to you. You tell me what you think, because I have my own feelings about the website. It says, we have over a decade of experience in the creative industry, producing exciting experience for brands that are as smart as they are effective. So the owners are Johnny and Leigh, these two. Johnny Landa, Napoleon Complex, hands-on creative with more than 16 years design experience, includes work from home accessory kit. And you have Leigh Whipday, who is the bearless wonder, multi-award winning creative with a passion for the details, right? So guys, this is pretty much the basic of the website. And as I said, let's before we go, let's look at some of the work that they've done. Let's look at some of the work that they've done. Let's just click on the first one, right? So this is some of the work that they've done. Bold, fun, and full of characters. So look at the web. This is a website they would have created for the brand Toggle. Look at what they did with the website. So you can see that clearly Toggle kind of shares the same kind of quirky, colorful, modern design characteristics of Toy Fight, right? But that's just my opinion of Toy Fight. I think Toy Fight is an eclectic, modern, fun, colorful, cutting edge tech company that's in the creative space. Their branding tends to take on a minimalist look, but it is very loud and very impactful because of the design and the characteristics that are on the thing. So looking through this, what are some of the things that you start thinking about this brand? So Trisha said they're out of the box thinkers. Nicholas says there's a lot of space. Website is not crowded. Love that. LOL at the Napoleon Complex and the Beardless Wonder, right? It seems fun. They like the humor, modern look, fresh and clean, right? Bold, not afraid to be different, very uninterested in conventional design. Exactly. Playful, fitting with the name. The website is clean, but functional and simple, modern, clean, innovative. You see all the things that come to your mind just by looking at the website? Right? So they use words and design elements to keep your attention. Sorry, not words. They use colors and design elements to keep your attention, right? So yes. So this is the personality of the brand. You can determine the personality of the brand by just looking here. Let's now look at the external elements of the brand identity. And we're talking about culture. I know we're talking about externalization. Actually, what we're talking about is how the company brands itself externally based on what it does internally. So I think like company culture is very much internal, but the external manifestation of the company's culture can be attractive or not attractive to people. And one big example I'll give you is Facebook. Oh my God, everybody loved the Facebook culture, because if you look at videos of the inside of Facebook, they have these sliding things where you can slide from the top floor to the bottom floor. They have an entire cafeteria that looks like a candy shop, right? They have rest areas. They have, and you're like, oh my God, I would love to work here. This means that Facebook loves their staff. This is amazing. And it kind of matches with what your perception of Facebook as a big tech company is, right? And the staff get free food. Yes, Theandra, the staff get free food and everything just look high tech and fun and live and exciting, right? So what we're looking at now, we're talking about the philosophy or the systems of work that defines your brand. And this is usually encapsulated in your vision and mission statement. So what do you say your brand is about? The culture that creates in the organization, and then how that is externalized to your customers. So that's an important part of your brand identity, right? Let's look at Ikea. How many of you guys here know Ikea? The very first, and this is when I was living in London, no, the very first piece of furniture I bought for myself at 19 years old was an Ikea bookshelf stand thing, a massive bookshelf stand thing that took up an entire wall in my room that I was putting stuff on. That was my first piece of furniture, was from an Ikea. How many of you guys here know Ikea? Any of you guys here in the chat know Ikea? Well, Ikea is a Swedish brand, if I'm not mistaken. Is it Swedish? Let's look. Let's look at what Ikea says about themselves, and you tell me if you agree, if there's an alignment with how Ikea sees itself and what you feel about Ikea. So Ikea says, we bring the Ikea brand to millions of homes, offering well-designed, functional, durable, affordable, and sustainable home furnishing solutions to people with big dreams and thin wallets. And I read this and I'm like, oop, I feel attacked, right? We're curious about the world around us and want to make a positive difference in people's lives. But if you think about Ikea, people think flat packed furniture that you can put together, right? And it's for people with thin wallets for real, because Ikea furniture is intentionally not expensive, right? So the vision is to create a better everyday life for the many people. The many people. So clearly Ikea sees itself as an international brand, right? The many people brand, right? So something for everybody kind of brand, right? This vision goes beyond home furnishing. We want to have a positive impact on the world. Again, this whole idea of being a global brand, from the communities where we source our raw materials to the way our products help our customers live a more sustainable life at home. Because back to be, regardless of what you want to say about Ikea furniture, that bookshelf is still standing. That bookshelf is still standing, and it is still as strong and as sturdy as ever. And I paid £29 for it at the time. Yes, ma'am. That bookshelf, my aunt now lives at that house with my little cousins in England. And from time to time, she sent me pictures of the bookshelf. It is still standing. They still use it, right? So by sharing what we do and speaking up for what we believe in, we can be a part of the positive change in society, right? Now, the business idea behind Ikea is that while our vision tells us why we exist, our business idea tells us what we want to achieve. And if you've ever visited Ikea, you'll have probably worked out what our business idea is: to offer a wide range of well-designed, functional home furnishing products at prices so low that as many people as possible will be able to afford them. Now, this is amazing to me because, as I said, if I'm not mistaken, Ikea is a Scandinavian country, and I think it's Sweden. I think it's from Sweden. And it was started by Ingvar Kamprad. And he says, Ikea is not the work of one person alone. This is the result of many minds and many souls working together through many years of joy and hard work. If I'm not mistaken, Ikea is a Swedish company, if I'm not mistaken. But then I want you to look at this when we scroll down to the bottom. What does this say? Modern slavery statement. Now, this is interesting, guys, because there's a conversation actively happening online now about the practices of businesses and how they've effectively remodeled slavery for the 21st century. That's a big political conversation happening online. And Ikea have an entire 16-page statement about modern slavery, and it's a very interesting read. If you should go through it, they talk about their values, the people, the business and the brand, what they're doing to make sure that they're not falling into that, how they purchase their products, how they source their products, the fact that they pay people market rates for these raw materials, how they're implementing this. It's an amazing thing. Not a lot of companies have gone to this extent to say, we don't do sweatshops. We don't do the cheap manufacturing that they do in some parts of the world, the cheap labor thing. We don't do that, unlike Apple. Just saying. Don't shoot the messenger. I don't say Apple have a modern slavery statement. Nicholas, Trisha, Christine, just saying. It's they're based in Netherlands. Okay. Shanake says, I love Ikea and I don't even own a piece of their furniture. There you go. I've owned several pieces of Ikea furniture. Does Samsung? They probably do. I'm just saying, iPhone, people know iPhone has sweatshops. Apple has a modern slavery statement. Okay, I stand corrected if they do, but they still have sweatshops. Moving on. I'm just pulling your legs. Or am I? All right, guys. So let's move on. But then I want to juxtapose Ikea with Grace. Let's look at what Grace statement says. Grace, mission, vision, and values. And we're going to do the same thing. I want you to tell me if after going through, you can align the Grace you know with the Grace that they think they are. So this is who Grace says they are, Grace Kennedy. And I want you to tell me if there's an alignment between who they say they are and what you think they are. Okay, here we go. Our mission is to deliver the taste and experience of Jamaican and other multicultural foods. This other multicultural foods part got me because what other? Okay. To the world and leading financial services to our region. So let me read it again. Our mission is to deliver the taste and experience of Jamaican and other multicultural foods to the world and leading financial services to our region. To be a global consumer group, delivering long-term consumer and shareholder value through brand building and innovative solutions in food and financial services provided by highly skilled and motivated people. Their values are honesty, integrity, and trust. They have a core set of values, which is their staff, their shareholders, our customers and consumers, our communities, and our creed. Now, I have a few thoughts about this. But let me hear your thoughts first. The first time I read this, I went, what? Honestly, that was my first reaction. My first reaction was, say what now? Because when I went back and I read, to deliver the taste and experience of Jamaican and other multicultural foods. I didn't know that Jamaica, that Grace made like non-Jamaican-y multicultural foods. I like what? That was the first thing I like. What products they make? I still can't think of any, but okay. And then it goes off to say to the world, which to me seemed like the original mission statement. And then this last part about leading financial services to our region, to me sounds like they tacked it on at the end when they went into the financial services industry, because they now own GK, right? So I think it sounds to me like it's tacked on. The mission doesn't sound cohesive to me. But then again, that's just me. But that's one. And then secondly, when I read this, I'm like, but don't you guys make food stuff? Like canned food things? Guys, I don't understand this. No, this is part I understand. You see this part right here, so I get it. I get all of this here. So staff, shareholders, blah, 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 blah. Because Grace Kennedy is a global multilateral company, probably one of the biggest ones. Got it. Get it. Great. I've seen Grace stuff in Sainsbury's supermarket in the UK. I've seen Grace stuff all over the place. Yeah. Got it. Don't understand not what I'm going right here. So I don't get any of this right here. So to my mind, what I think about as Grace is, I think of corned beef. I think of tin mackerel. I think of peas. I think of ketchup. I don't know what none of this means, because none of this, to my mind, represent what I think about Grace. You guys tell me what you think. Is bully beef multicultural? Okay. Christine says it doesn't say anything. It's just very general. Nothing in their advertising, their promotion of items promote this. What they did have a what was the name of that program? Birthright, the Birthright program where foreign people could have come claim them Jamaican heritage. It wasn't the other way around. Interesting. Corned beef. I think Grace, I think corned beef. Chickpea and black bean is a cultural thing, is it? I guess. They have to cater to our diverse population. What diverse population, guys? I mean, I do know that we have a diverse population, but what does Grace create that caters to the diverse population? Yes, because Jamaicans are scattered all across the world. So other cases, I guess what they make is used across the world. Yeah, I mean, peas is peas, right? Kimberly says the mission is vague. Kimberly, I couldn't understand it. I read it. I honestly, guys, I'm not exaggerating. I read it about 50 times, and every time I'm like, still don't get it. I still don't get that last part, and leading financial services. It don't even read coherently. What does that mean? And leading financial services to our region. I don't get it. I don't get what they mean. Yes, the product in all supermarkets, Grace stuff is found in the international foods aisle. So Sandra says she thinks scholarships, corned beef, ketchup, cock soup. Yes, cock soup. Yeah, cock soup. Grace products global can be found in any supermarket world. They have their own aisles with products. I don't know if they have their own aisles, but I do know that Grace shows up in the international aisles right across the world. As I said, they are a multilateral. They're all over the world. That's, to my mind, I think very fondly of Grace. I think of Grace in a very fond sense because it's a company that personally I am proud of. Now, I don't know much about Grace, but I'm proud of Grace because my perception is that they're one of the biggest locally grown company in the world, that they're all over the place, that they very much represent brand Jamaica, that they're a very strong cultural brand. That's my idea of Grace. Outside of the corned beef and stuff, there's a pride I have when I go into a supermarket overseas and see a Grace product. I was like, that's from Jamaica. Love it. There's a pride that I have. It's not coming through in their vision and mission statement. I'm sorry. It's not coming through here. It's not coming through here at all. It's not showing up in the vision and mission statement for me. Somebody says, I trust Grace. I trust Grace. I trust Grace. I trust Grace. If somebody come out and say, oh, Grace products are tinted, I'm like, first of all, source. because you're not going to talk rubbish about Grace. We're not doing that. Because again, there's this patriotic pride that I have when I see Grace products. And let's be clear, Grace is not a problematic company in that respect. They're not problematic in that regard. They've had years of good reputation, highest standards, international recognized. I mean, Grace is Grace, quality. You think Grace, you think quality. You're willing to pay more money for Grace because it's quality. Guys, me not see none of that reflected, nothing, no guess, except for the values part. I understand the values part. Me not see that represented anywhere right here. So, and this is what I'm talking about when we're talking about how you externalize a culture and what you say about yourself, and how what you say about yourself may not be what people perceive of you. Now, in this instance, it's in a good way. In most instances, it's a bad way where you say you're great and people go, you're not that great. Believe me, you're not that great. But Grace is Grace. Quality leaders, standard bearers, it's Grace. I don't see none of that represented here. I'm just saying, if this is their mission, vision, and value, then do better. I don't know. Still love them, but okay. The only problem I have is that they won't respond to my charity letter. Well, that's the Grace Foundation. We need to look at their portfolio, what they offer. We know they offer a wide variety of things, Vanessa, but what I'm trying to get you guys to do is, or the exercise is, look at what they say about themselves and try and match that to what your perception of the brand is. And I intentionally use big brands that most of us would know. And I'm saying, I don't see what I think about Grace being reflected here. As I said, I think of Grace as a big corporate quality standard, patriotic kind of brand, a brand I am exceedingly proud of as a Jamaican. I just don't see that reflected in the words that they say about themselves. That's all I'm saying. Somebody says it's straight jacket written. It's unoriginal. It's not flavorful. And we know Grace is full of flavor. I'm just not sure what that is. It's very bland. Exactly. Need some time and some scotch bunny pepper. Maybe a little bit of Grace ketchup. Maybe a little thing. You know. Dana says she understands what they're saying. Well, Dana, I guess your eyes are sharper than mine, or your brain works differently from mine. As I said, I understand their values, the honesty, integrity, and trust. And I agree. When I think of Grace, I do think of there's a trust factor there, very high trust factor. And I think if you should poll most Jamaicans, Grace would probably rank very high up there in terms of integrity, honesty, and trust. I agree with them on that. I agree with their value system. It makes sense to me. Yeah, they're a global network. Yeah, I get this. The mission statement and this part down here so is what I don't get. I don't, especially this part. I understand this to an extent. This part of yourself, don't get it. Some Trishana says what they say and how I view Grace are not in line with their mission statement. It's not in line with mine either. But all right, guys, still love Grace, still a boss company. But I'm just saying, look at the difference between how Ikea represents themselves. And you can see there's an alignment in what people think about Ikea with actually what Ikea says they are, which means that Ikea has successfully been able to externalize their culture. Not so much. I think Grace is successful in terms of having a well-established, highly trusted brand full of integrity and all that good stuff. We agree with their values. Can't knock them on the values, up there. But then how they represent themselves, as in the thing, what they are saying about themselves is not commensurate with what you kind of have up here of them. And that's kind of what I want to point out. But let's move on. Let's look at the internalization. Now, when we're talking about internalization, we're talking about the relationship that your brand has with its audience or its consumers, and how this depends heavily on the brand experience and the value added, right? And this is the relationship that you as the company, you are building with your customers, but it starts internally. It starts with the company, how the company operates and what the intentions that company have. What are your intentions in terms of the relationship that you want to build with your audience? And this is where the value added part comes in, because we're talking about what are some of the things that you can do to further deepen that relationship that is a policy for your company. So let's look at Scotiabank and the Scotia Magna Card. So we all know what Magna Card is. With Magna Card, it's a points-based reward system where you can go swipe and you can get points, and then you can redeem those points for cash. Right. So Scotiabank has come together with Magna Card so you can get more. So if you use your Scotia card, you can also get Magna reward points, right? So this is the value added, the reward scheme. So when you have like frequent flyer miles and all these kind of rewards based systems, this is what the company is telling you. This is one way you can know what the relationship is that the company is trying to have with its audience. Right? It's not just buy my stuff. It's if you buy my stuff, you can get this as a reward for buying my stuff. And this is the added value. So you're getting the value of the thing you're buying or the use of the thing or the service we're providing. But in addition to that, you're also getting added benefits, right? And we'll call this incentivizing. This is a part of how you incentivize your audience to patronize your business. And it's also part of the perception you're building around your brand. Let's look at the consumer identity now, right? And we're talking about customer affection. And pretty much what we mean is who is your messaging meant for, right? Who is the primary target audience or buyer that your brand is talking to, or who are more likely than other personas to buy and recommend your brand? Nobody. And I mean nobody in the beauty space right now does message targeting better than Bad Gal Riri. Nobody. The Fenty Beauty brand right now they enjoy high positive ratings. They enjoy a very wide and an extremely diverse customer base. And it's because they are very good at targeting their messaging, right? The Fenty Beauty brand, although Rihanna talk about different colors and shades, it's a black brand. It's a black brand. I don't care what anybody says, it's a black brand. And certainly black people think it's a black brand. And that's what's important. Is not what the stock exchange, the Wall Street says, is what the consumers say. And consumers think Fenty and even Savage X Fenty is a black owned brand. Because it's Rihanna. Now, does Rihanna own the entire brand? No, she don't. But she is the creative director of these brands, and she's very hands-on, according to a lot of people who work with her. She's very hands-on, and she's making some of the marketing and branding decisions, and she's designing, and so as far as we're concerned, it's a black-owned brand, as far as we're concerned. Right? But it's how the brand has positioned itself and how the brand talks to people. The brand talks to people who are black, brown, fat, slim, dark skin, mostly dark skin, because there's a video of Rihanna talking about why she came up with Fenty. And what did she say? The first person she saw wearing makeup was her mother, who was a dark-skinned Black Caribbean woman. And she thought, why is it so difficult for my mother, this beautiful woman, why does she have such a difficult time finding makeup? I need to fix that. And that's what she did. And even though there were other brands that came up with a wide variety of shade. Rihanna wasn't the first person to do it, but what she was the first person to do was lead with a wide variety of shades. She launched with a wide variety of shades. What tended to happen in the beauty space was that they launched with the white ones, the high yellow, palm colored ones. And then later on, as kind of an afterthought, they added more color. Rihanna did the opposite. She started with the dark ones. She started with a very wide range and then just kept adding. And so that was a major difference between her messaging and their messaging, because usually what you get is Black people are the afterthought. Yeah, we'll make darker shades at some point, right? But then when you flip that on its head and you're like, listen, I got you. I got you, ladies, you dark-skinned ladies. I got you. Here's your shades. It says something very different. The messaging comes across very different. And then when you look at who the brand ambassadors are, from the darkest of dark skin, right? And when you see these dark, her name is Neon something. She's a very big YouTuber, dark, the most beautiful dark skin. I don't remember what her name is, but she was I don't know if she's still, but she was a Fenty ambassador at one point. And she's like, I don't even have to mix colors. I can literally just pick up a color and put it on my face without having to mix colors. And that was revolutionary for a lot of Black people, right? And then now let's look at consumer identity. And let's look at the other side of consumer identity and so before we go over there, basically what we mean by customer reflection is how does your brand reflect me? Do I see myself reflected in your brand? So when you are talking, are you talking to me? Is this message meant for me? Because if this message is meant for me, then it's relevant to me. And so I relate to it because I see myself in it. And Nimatang, yes, thank you. Nimatang. And it's kind of the same thing with customer image, except with customer messaging, with customer self-image, with the customer reflection, is your brand reflecting to the customers themselves. So your brand is saying, this is who you could be if you use my brand. I'm talking to you. This is the solution I'm providing for you, and this is what it could be. But with customer self-image is how they see themselves reflected in your brand, how your brand, how they see themselves participating in what your brand is, right? So it's about my best self. Can I see my best self in your brand, right? If I want to look a particular way, and Nicholas said it earlier, it's luxury, it's exclusive. And when you think about what he's talking about is, when I buy an Apple product, I feel like I'm in an exclusive luxury club. And if I want to feel like I'm in an exclusive luxury club, then these are the tools I need to have. I need to have a BMW because a BMW is a status symbol, isn't it? A Mercedes or whatever. All of our cars, listen, from the car can turn on and carry from A to B, you're good. But no, it's not just about taking me from A to B. It's about, what does this car tell people about me? What does an iPhone tell people about Nicholas? What does a BMW tell people about you? What does the latest Land Rover tell people about you? That's the customer self-image part we're talking about. And I think nothing represents that better than Clark's. Nothing represents that better than Clark's. And we're going to take a minute to deep dive Clark's. The Clark's story, the love affair between Jamaicans and Clark's. There's even a book about it. by Al Fingers called Clark's in Jamaica. And I want you to notice the front cover image of the book. This is not a stylized thing. This is an image of a man who works, looks like a mechanic or works in some kind of shop with tires and stuff. Look at what is on his feet. It's a Clark's. We all know the popular song by Vibes Cartel, Clark's, right? Let's look at what Clark's represent in the Jamaican space. Now, guys, if you have a headphone, this is a 10-minute thing, and I'm going to play most of it. Please put your headphones in. And based on what we just went through with the brand identity prism, where we're talking about physical identity, personal identity, culture, we talked about the customer reflection, the customer self-image, and the relationship. Keep all that in mind when you watch this, because I want to ask you some questions when we're done, okay? So let's get into it.
Why is Clark? Why is Clark's so engraved in Jamaican culture?
Michaela Simpson, otherwise known as Original Coffee. The word Clark's literally means to me culture. I grew up in Jamaica and I've seen what it means, what the brand means, and the actual shoes mean to Jamaicans growing up. Well, I grew up looking through this window right here, and I feel like Spanish Town is a really down-to-earth place. Like, it's just very real. I was happy with my humble settings, you know? Observing that kind of felt like a whole world to me in some sense of the word. So I'd spend a lot of time and it would feel like a sense of freedom.
Clark's in Jamaica? Yeah, I don't think there's another shoe, another trainer that can come anywhere near. But listen, like, yeah, when a Jamaican person comes to England and then they're going back, the barrel that they would say that's going back to Jamaica, the amount of Clarks that are in that, trust me, everybody has to get a Clarks, otherwise that person can't touch back the island.
1, 2. As boys, we all wanted Clarks. Aspired for Clarks. If you said to any Jamaican, what pair of shoe would be the first shoe that comes to your mind? I guarantee you, I can bet you everything I have. Say I'm gonna say Clarks, as long as he's being honest.
Clarks in Jamaica go way back. I don't think a lot of people in the UK know that. Yeah, I wasn't that well behaved as a kid, so my grandma used to try and send me to Jamaica to stay with my family. I work on music, chill, and just, yeah, survive out there. The bars come like that. Spending a lot of time there over the years and seeing people go mad over Clarks has definitely influenced my style.
Wearing a Clarks gives you dimension, I think. That's what it is. People growing up, children, teenagers, young adults, I remember it being, oh, I have to make sure that I get a pair of Clarks.
Clarks make me feel like a goddess, for sure. It's just something you can rock. So many different styles, so many different colors, you can rock it with anything.
There may not be another international brand that is as deep-rooted in a Jamaican music fashion culture as Clarks. Trust me, I'm telling you that as a youth, you just thought that Clarks was a Jamaican thing.
Back in the 60s and the 70s, you know, it was coming in from England, and I know Jamaicans kind of like expensive things just because it's expensive. You know, back then people never necessarily have the money to pay for the Clarks.
Clarks at that time when me in high school, long time ago, was at least 7,000 Jamaican dollars, and that was a school fee. Yeah, for the year.
My grandfather especially, he'd always boast about, oh, he has a brother who lives in America who would normally send him Clarks.
People were always looking forward to the gifts that the ones in America and the ones in England would bring forward. And a signature gift, or in the telegram, make sure you bring one of them Clarks.
Them would lock up people for Clarks because you're not supposed to have them thing, you know what I mean, as like a youth from the garrison or whatever. So it's like, it's almost a status symbol. So I wasn't around when it caught on, but I know that the music has a lot to do with it.
Over time, we realized that, everybody's wearing it. It's in every song. Artists doing an entire album, with Clark songs. The album cover is about Clarks.
Supercat has a song about it, Ika Mouse, and then naturally in my generation, Vibes Cartel and Popcorn come and just revolutionize it,
Vibes Cartel and his song, Clarks, officially, was like a big movement for Jamaica. So I think a lot of people upheld his message of, wearing Clarks and feeling fresh in Clarks and wearing your Clarks with anything.
Clarks, I prefer Clarks with the sour Clarks with the winter. Pull off a tiger, you body gold fur. Yeah, that one. That's when I actually started to really listen to Vibes Cartel after that.
Clarks was already a thing in Jamaica for years, but when he did that song, I just remember a different level of obsession. Music influenced a lot in Jamaica. See me? Music really influenced the way of thinking for a lot of people.
The brand is a fresh brand. Clarks is a fresh brand, and I think artists always like to have the best image and look the best. And I think Clarks is one of those shoes that offer that.
You don't just put on a pair of Clarks. You think about it. You're like, I want to command more respect today. I'm going to wear some Clarks.
For me, what I think Clarks add to my look is that extra spice. Especially when a woman wears it, it's like, yeah man, she's hardcore. Let me just not kick her purse right now.
If the woman them out here wear Clarks, it's just sick them put it together in the baddest way. So it's something I love to see.
My favorite style of Clarks shoes is probably a desert trek. In Jamaica, we call it bank robber.
So for me, if I'm going to a street dance, big sound, string up, late night, I definitely wear a desert.
The Clark Spirit is the most beautiful pair of shoe. It stands out among all the other shoes, all the other Clarks, and it fits so beautiful. It rides so well.
Probably the bank robbers that I got, some Jamaican edition. I don't think no one's got them, so I like them ones.
Easily the Weaver is my favorite.
The Wallabies, lovely bubbly, but when I want to go top level, my all black desert Clarks, that's my favorite shoe on this planet.
Jamaicans, when we have a little money, we would want to make sure we buy something good and it lasts forever.
We're buying it. We're not even imagining it as is in its new state.
Yeah.
We're already looking forward to when it's worn because it gets better with age.
Favorite part of the class.
That's the favorite part of the class, is durability.
People save up for months, even years, just to have one pair of Clarks that will last. They look brand new for years.
If they're gonna get our shoes, they'll probably have only one pair. So it had to be fashionable but also durable.
My uncle growing up, he always had a pair of Clarks on. They always looked completely brand new. And I learned from him that you put the Clarks in the freezer to preserve it.
When I put it in the freezer, but I did get a toothbrush. Growing up and hearing those songs and saying, toothbrush, get out the dust fast. My mom always would kind of drill in my head how good they were and say, this is the good quality Clarks. You see how much years it lasted in school? I think the transition towards a fresh Clarks kind of happened as as an adult, and after that I felt like a real champion, you know? Like that's a big moment in my life.
The originality, the creativity, the culture, the simplicity. I think that is actually what create the common ground between the Clarks and the Jamaican. Jamaican culture, we pride ourselves. We have a whole heap of pride. You know what I mean? And we pride ourselves on being particularly creative and original. You see what I say?
If it's a happy event, if it's a sad event, if it's a party, if it's a business meeting, if it's a show, there's almost a Clarks for every occasion, you feel me? Because of that versatility, it's a brand that a lot of people love because it can follow your expression. Express just freedom, it's just another thing that you can make your own.
Yeah, if you wear Clarks in a school, you're fresh. Like you're fresh from early before you even grow big. So yeah, I just think I've always seen it and I know how much it means to the youth and I know that it's literally a part of our culture.
All right, guys. So thoughts. I have one more Clarks video to play, but what are your thoughts so far? I like seeing Clarks on, guys. I'm a save to buy one. I got mine as a gift and I was like, why to myself? But I wore it and man, the ratings me start get. I can't imagine the fascination with Clark. It is so lost on me. Clearly, I'm not part of their target audience. Christine, were you just watching that? Did you just watch that? I literally bought my first pair of Clarks out of my first paycheck. It was a must. Last forever, strangely, no, I would consider owning one just because this is not safe. I don't like how it look either, but I wear it, didn't buy it though. The Clarks brand is associated with the Jamaican culture. It's funny how a British brand is now associated with a particular culture. And I have feelings about that. It's a cultural symbol. Jamaicans only wear certain design, but Clarks do sell slippers, heel, flat. Yeah, they have a variety. Most of my male friends save to buy their first pair. Yeah, a lot of Jamaicans. I started wearing Clarks when I was in high school. And my father, who was living in England at the time, used to buy Clarks. It wasn't a fashion statement because these were the ugliest shoes I have ever seen in my entire life. But they were Clarks, and those shoes, you couldn't mash them up. And let me tell you something, I tried because they ugly. I mean, they like them. I was like, if I could have mashed them up, I could have get different ones. Indestructible shoes. Indestructible shoes. I was like, right? And every other year that I get a pair of the ugliest shoes, they were all Clarks. And I didn't know or understand the value of Clarks. What I knew was they were very, very, very durable. You couldn't mash up a Clarks. That's for sure. Kick every stone, mash them down in the back, fling them all over the place. The Clarks them say, see me every time. As soon as you dust them off and clean them, brand new. Them won't even scuff. Oh God, I hate them. Traumatized me as a child. But what I failed to understand at the time was it was not, first of all, the Clarks that I wore to school never said Clarks. And if I never take off my shoes and show you says a Clarks, you wouldn't know says a Clarks. Because it wasn't any of these shoes. It were just literally just school looking shoes. But what I didn't know at the time was that it was such a major part of dancehall and our music culture in Jamaica until I spoke to my dad. And I have another video to play from my dad. Let's look at what my dad, who bought me my first pair of Clarks, says about Clarks. Now, guys, this is audio only, but I want you to listen, right?
I wear 3 types of footwear: Clarks, various styles, flip-flops, and sneakers. Okay.
Hold on, let me turn the volume up. I thought it was louder than that. All right, let's go again. No.
Stylish and durable footwear that I have ever had. I wear 3 types of footwear: clogs, various styles, flip-flops, and sneakers occasionally. My first pair of clogs I got at probably about 10 years old. My mother bought that shoes, and I guess since then I've become a clogs wearer, because since then up to now, as almost 64 years old, I've always had mostly clogs. I got to various flirtations with, one time it was like Timberlands, but clogs has always been the mainstay of my footwear. And basically, when I started wearing clogs, it was just when clogs was, bursting on the scene in Jamaica. So it was before the faddish thing status that it has taken on now. But the main reason why I wear clogs and continue to wear them and will buy them is because they are just the most comfortable, stylish, and durable footwear that I have ever had. I have had friends who lives abroad and have his house locked up most of the time, and he has had all kind of expensive footwear there, and because the place was locked up and the temperature and the humidity got away, all of the shoes them exploded. Some of them just get crystallized, and he couldn't wear any of them except the clogs. All of the clogs were still standing. I have never managed to destroy a pair of clogs or wear it out. The most that happens is that the sole, because it's crepe sole, the most that happens, the crepe sole weighs down on one side and it becomes uncomfortable to wear. And I don't want to bottom it, replace the bottom, because it's going to lose the look. So it's just there until I throw them out. Like that black clogs, for instance, the upper is perfect, but the bottom, the sole, has worn down on the edges on both sides, so it's not wearing anymore. So for me, it's not about the fashion thing, and that is so prevalent nowadays. It's just it's very stylish. It fits my kind of style, and they are very, 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 very durable. So that is my Clark's take.
All right, so that was my dad. And I can tell you that my father has had hundreds, I'm not even exaggerating, hundreds of pairs of Clarks. Hundreds. My father will not spend money on any, he will sink money into Clarks. At one point, when I was living in England, my father had a understairs storage where it was just shoes. And at any one point, there was about 20 pair of Clarks in the box, almost brand new, untouched, because he had like 5 pairs that was on rotation. That's how much my father loved Clarks and wore Clarks. And as I said, couldn't mash them up. My father has passed down Clarks from himself to his sisters, who take over the wearing of the Clarks, to cousins, and the Clarks were just being passed down from one person to the next person, to the next person, to the next person. So how did this international brand, what is the association that this brand of Clarks has had with Jamaica, and how was that association built? It was the family members who got foreign and who was sending these things back, because Clarks, in my opinion, Jamaicans popularized Clarks, because before, Clarks was really seen as a utility type of shoes. They're leather, real leather shoes, right? And they were mostly utility based. So you wore them because of their durability. That's why you bought a Clarks. They were durable, they were long lasting, they were your money stretch a long way. If you look at the time that Clarks came into being, this company is over 100 years old, right? So it makes sense. And the quality just got better and better and better over time. But then it hit Jamaica in the music scene, right? And then the two cultures collided, and the love affair between Jamaicans and Clarks started. Jamaicans were wearing Clarks before, because I said the durability. A lot of us were wearing Clarks to school because of the durability. But then there's this other side of it as well. There's a cultural aspect. There's the status symbol. There is if you have a Clarks by your foot, you make it. And sometimes when you see people with Clarks, you go, that's either an entertainer or somebody with money. Right? So it came to take on the perception of Clarks, took on a life of its own outside of how Clarks was even branding themselves. So the association with Clarks and Jamaica completely changed the perception of the brand. The brand had a whole different life outside of England, where it was actually born. A whole different life, a whole different cultural meaning, a whole different perception. It was nothing. When I went to England, I thought, oh, we're going to go to a Clarks store. We're going to go to some big, fancy, pretty store. It was a warehouse. It was a warehouse in an industrial part of London where you could go buy the Clarks for cheap because you get that warehouse price. So it's like, so this is the big excitement. Where, yes, it was a warehouse. And let me tell you, so the line, them start line up from after 4. Them start line up at the warehouse from after 4. And them have these big barrels with these Clarks just fling down in them. And you could just go pick and sift through and pick where you want, you buy your Clarks, you can buy your business. That was it. That was literally it. The prettiness that you guys see in terms of the branding and the marketing is when it gets to the stores. And even in stores, there was no Clarks section. It was just them over there. So people in England don't look at Clarks the same way we do. The Jamaicans in England do, but we don't think of Clarks the same way they think of Clarks. Clarks is not as big a brand necessarily in England as it is in here. It's probably one of the longest, most established brands, but not as big a brand as it is here, right? And so it is interesting how, because of how the emotional connections that we form with brands can take on a life of its own and completely change the meaning, function of a brand. Now, Clarks have an entire range dedicated to Jamaica. They've even changed the name. Sometimes you see on the Clarks website, it's a Desert Trek, and in brackets, bank robbers. Right? Raheem Sterling, I don't know how many of you knew Raheem Sterling. He's a Jamaican. He's a footballer now. He left Jamaica and went to play football in the States. They have an entire line of Clarks that he helped design. There was, every Clarks campaign have a Jamaican feature in it, just about, right? Because they ain't stupid. Clarks makes a lot of its money from Jamaicans, whether living in Jamaica or in the diaspora. Why do we love Clarks so much? It's not the fact that they're ugly. I think Clarks is an acquired taste, just like beer is an acquired taste. We love Clarks because of the cultural elements of it. As somebody rightful says, it's a status symbol. Raheem Sterling was the first one with the shave head, right? It's a status symbol. That's what it is. And it's a cultural thing now. Even the Prime Minister wears Clarks. I don't know if you guys saw. It's what it is. All right, guys? So just wanted to throw that in there so you can kind of see about how we formulate perceptions around brands and how the brands sometimes adapt themselves to the perceptions that they're forming. And if you should go and look at the vision and mission statements of Clarks, There's an alignment there, which is interesting. And I think that mission has changed over time because Clark has come to accept that they're now a multicultural brand. Right? So Christine says, this is what you mean when we say we need to listen to our community. Yes, Clark's is spending a ton of money in Jamaica on branding. One thing I want you guys to notice, did you realize the persons who were in this infomercial? Because this was an infomercial. This is marketing. This was a paid promo. They were paying these people. Do you guys realize who was in Lila Ike, Savannah, Protege, Coffee? These are young, upcoming reggae artists. Some of them who are transitioning into mainstream music. Coffee did transition, right? It's on their site. Sandra, Clarks have an entire part of their site dedicated to Jamaican Clarks, an entire section of their site. Just Jamaican Clarks. They have a whole range of Clarks. The Raheem Sterling Clarks are limited edition, but they have a whole range of Clarks that are not limited edition, that are Jamaican based. So if you look at the kind of people that was in this infomercial, fresh, young, bold, political. And it's funny because if you look at the juxtaposition, and this is what was happening in the infomercial, there was a juxtaposition between these fresh, young, upcoming artists and back in the day kind of artists. Did you notice a difference? I didn't. The style has not changed. You guys notice that? I know it's on their site, Sandra. I saw it on their site. And what I'm saying is there's an entire part of the site dedicated to Jamaica, which is where you found the video. But I'm wanting you guys, did you guys notice that there was not much different style? There was not much difference stylistically between the throwback videos and photos of Jamaicans in the dancehall scene and our young up and coming people? Realize that stylistically there wasn't a lot of differences, because we are still borrowing from it's still the culture. The look at how Coffee was wearing her Clarks. No socks, roll up foot pants, shirt. Look at how nomads were wearing the Clarks. It's just the style. That's how it's gone beyond style. It's now cultural. That's how Clarks for wear. That's how Clarks for look. Right? There you go, guys. That I thought that was a fascinating case study in branding and perception development, right? So, guys, we're gonna wrap up quickly with digital brand strategy because I know Jacqueline is here and she has some stuff to talk to us about. So let's look at let's just break down some of what we were talking about earlier in the brand identity prism and look at some of the main components, pretty much the three major elements of your brand strategy. And we saw some of these elements in the brand identity, but I kind of want to pull them out some more. So let's look at what these main elements are. The first element is the identity itself, and that can be split in two parts. So we have the visual or the physical presentation. So literally how you present yourself, how your brand look to people. And I notice a lot of time with small businesses in Jamaica, we don't pay much attention to, well, we pay a lot of attention to the physical, but not in the way that we're supposed to pay attention to the physical. And what tends to happen is that our brands look mismatched. There's this, it's not as cohesive as it could be. You know what I mean? So we're talking about visual presentations. We're talking about brand name and logo, as we said before. The design elements include the colors and the typography. But let's look at the logo part. So you're on Instagram and you realize that Instagram gives you this look 150 by 150 image or section that you can put an image in. And your logo is 50 words long and it's shaped like this. And you have no symbol to your logo. So, you know, Nike is Nike, but then they have the tick, which is a symbol. And so on their socials, it's just the tick. Well, you have this long name with no symbol and you're trying to fit that in a 150 by 150 circle. It looks off and it throws your entire physical presentation off, right? And so this is what I'm talking about. We love creating logos and stuff. We love the sexy part of it, but the practical part of it is what we're not really paying attention to. But that's for another time, okay? Then we have the psychological representation. Now, one is a presentation, how you are presenting yourself, and the other one is a representation. What do you represent to people psychologically? So then that in that instance, we're talking about brand perceptions that we just went through a while ago. So what people think, feel, say about your business or your brand, or about you if you are your business or brand, right? And not only what they think, feel, say, but how their actions reflect that perspective. Because people think that Clarks is, because of how we feel about Clarks, it has now become a part of our cultural identity, right? And we reflect that cultural identity by investing in a pair of Clark shoes. So what we think, feel, and say about the brand is reflected in how we buy, in our buying or purchasing, right? Or purchasing or buying behavior. That's one of the ways that the psychological representation usually manifests itself. Then we have the messaging, which is, no, all of these are important. None of them is more important than the other one, because it's a holy trilogy, if you want to call it that. You get these three things right, your branding is set, right? So we have brand positioning, how you position your brand. So we're talking about things like, what do you want your brand or business to be known for? So in other words, which space, niche do you want to occupy in the market? These two things are very important, because when you're writing your brand messaging has to say to people, this is who I am, this is what I represent, this is why you should care about my brand. That is the what do you want people to know about you? And when they know that about you, then what? So what do you want to be known for? You want to be known as a brand that is eco-friendly. You want to be known as a brand that's Black people friendly, or that caters to the Black community, or you know what I mean? You want that to be representative of what you are. And of course, you're building that into your messaging. So when in the height of the Black Lives Matter movement, you had Instagram and other platforms talking about how they have the Black Creator Fund and they're putting aside money for Black people, Black businesses, and blah, blah, blah. That's what that messaging was supposed to convey. We stand with Black Lives Matter. Right? This is what we want to be known for. This also is a part of our psychological representation, because who you are physically is one thing, but who you are psychologically should be manifesting in your messaging. I should get that from the things you say, right? And it's also about the space you want to occupy. Because you could be in the fashion industry, but you really only make vegan-based products. Yes, you have vegan-based fashion. You have a vegan-based niche in the fashion space where all the clothes you make are vegan-based. They come from, they don't come from animal products, right? So that's a special niche that you occupy. And who's gonna buy stuff like that? Well, people who are animal rights people who are environmental activists, or who are environmentally inclined. That's the kind of people you're going to attract, right? The other part of your messaging is your unique selling proposition, right? And when you're talking about that, you're talking about, now we're going back to the personality, and we're talking about differentiation. What makes you different? What sets you apart? What are the traits and characteristics and features of your brand or business or personality that sets you apart from your competitor, from everybody else? What do you do differently or better than anyone else? That also has to be in your messaging. Let's go back and look at Ikea. Ikea, what does Ikea do differently? Affordable furniture, high quality for everybody. That's what they do differently. That's what sets them apart. It can't nobody do flat pack furniture like Ikea. Hands down, they've tried it, not worked, right? Because Ikea has developed a culture. Remember, we're going back to the externalization of that culture. They have developed a particular culture, and that culture manifests itself externally, and you can see that through their vision and mission statements. But you can also see how that culture and how that culture is psychologically represented, right? If you go on the IKEA website, they talk about people a lot, they talk about their products a lot, they talk about the material, and it's high quality stuff, right? And so this is what makes IKEA unique and special. And even somebody like Shanake, who has never owned an IKEA furniture, likes IKEA. How can you like a brand you've never interacted with? Well, it's because of how that brand represents itself and the messaging that comes through. It always comes through, right? And then finally, we have your audience. Guys, how many times have I said audience? Anybody keeping account? I've said audience 1,000 times already, because you are talking to somebody. Your product, your services were meant for somebody. Not anybody, not everybody, but somebody or a group of somebodies, right? So you're always talking to there's always a target group that your brand is representing itself to, or presenting itself to, or messaging to, right? But when you're looking at your audience, there's a couple of things you need to bear in mind. Can they see you? Do they even know you exist? Are you putting yourselves in places that you can be easily found? Are you? Are you on the right platforms? Are you posting at the right time? Are you posting the right content? How are you ensuring that the people you are talking to can see and interact with you? That's important, because if they can't see you, if they can't interact with you, then your messaging gets lost. You're just speaking in the void. And all the prettiness and sexiness of your brand identity and your beautiful logos and colors and all the things you represent is lost, because ain't nobody seeing it. Nobody is seeing it. Or at least the right people are not seeing it. And that's when it becomes a problem. The other thing you need to think about when you think about audience is relevance. Guys, this is why you're not marketing to everybody. You're marketing to a group of somebodies, because you're not going to ever be relevant to everybody. It's impossible for you. Again, unless you're JPS or National Water Commission or bank, you're not going to be relevant to everybody. And so you have to ensure that, one, there's a value exchange, and that, two, your brand is showing up at the right time. So what do we mean by relevance and the value exchange? Well, who determines what value is? It's your audience. So you can say that you have certain values, but if your audience don't concur, then you don't have those values, right? So your audience determine what the values are and what is valuable to them. So if you create content that is valuable to your audience, then that automatically imbues you with value. And there's a value exchange between you and the audience. So when I come on here every Monday and Wednesday and I share my knowledge with you, there's a value exchange that is happening between me and between you, but also between Heart and Kingston Creative and IDB Labs and you, because they're the ones who made this possible. So that's what I mean by being relevant to you, and also sticking to that point, showing up at the right time. Because when Kingston Creative decided that they were going to do these programs, it was in the midst of COVID, and they're going, how can we reach our community and help our community navigate through this difficult time through online? And this program was birthed. And the overwhelming reception says that they showed up at the right time. This program came about at the right time. And sometimes, guys, relevance, you're not, and sometimes you don't, Pepsi is not always going to be relevant to you. Pepsi is probably relevant to you when you're thirsty, right? but it's about showing up at the right time, at the time that the audience is making the decision, when they're considering whether or not it's you or you. So if you are showing up at the time that they're making that decision, because remember we talked about the funnel, and that the funnel is not always, people don't always hit 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. Them go 1, then them go 4, then them come back to 3, and then them go 2, because it's human and we're emotional. So it's a zigzag, come and round circle. It's never a linear and straightforward. So if your brand is making sure that it is consistent, that it's providing value, and that you're positioning yourself, that you're visible, that you are differentiating yourself, that you are forming positive brand representations, and that your brand looks good to people, you get leads and sales. Pretty much half your marketing is done, right? So yes, so guys, that's it for our lesson today. So just a quick introductory course to branding, right? I think it's more like 1300 what did I miss, guys? So that's our lesson on branding today, guys. I'm hoping you would have learned a lot from it, and it would have kind of changed your way as to how you think about branding. We tend to your mention of audience, Kavir, Christine, not sure what you guys talking about. You want to jump on and explain? But guys, before that, we have Jacqueline in the building. Jacqueline, are you still with us? Jacqueline, get new hairstyle and thing, baby. Looking great, looking great. We can't hear you though. Are you muted? Jacqueline is sorting out her sound. You asked if we realize how often you mention the word audience. Oh, 1300. Guys, I cannot insist enough that you really have to pay attention to who you are talking to. But guys, let me tell you something. You have some brands locally between me and you. You have some brands locally that you don't even know what them sell, but their branding is so top notch, right? Their branding is good. The branding looks really, really nice. And you go, but what do you do exactly? So I find that we tend to focus on one thing or the other, but then we are not cohesive in making the entirety of that thing works. And that's why you have small brands online who are making a ton of money, because the branding is cohesive, the messaging is cohesive, the identity looks good, the messaging is good, and their marketing is top notch. And they're marketing on very small budgets, but they're doing it well. Jacqueline, I'm not sure. We still can't hear you. Let me see if it's me. I think it may be me. I'm going to make you host. You're not the host. Still can't hear. Oh, no. Not sure what's happening, because it is saying that you are unmuted. You want to try without the headphones, Jacqueline, and see? Unplug the headphones and see. They're unplugged and you're still not hearing. Check your volume to see what's your input and output. Oh, it says you're mute. You're mute now. Unmute. Oh, still not hearing you. You want to exit and come back and see if... All right, she's gonna exit and come back, guys, because we have some important announcements. So guys, any thoughts on what you would have learned today? I think today was one of my favorite lessons so far. Any thoughts on what you guys would have learned today? I'm getting some water from my massive water jug. Any thoughts on what you learned today? Did you learn anything new?
Are you hearing me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let me put my camera on.
Kevin says, learn that your brand is something you build carefully and it's hinged on reputation. Oh my God, your brand can suffer reputational damage in a matter of minutes on the internet. Minutes.
Okay. So I'm going to jump in, Katie, if you don't
Yes,
mind.
sure,
I
sure.
have only a few minutes. So I want to say good afternoon to everyone. How are we this afternoon? Great, I see the responses coming in. So for those of you who may not know me, because you may have joined the course late, my name is Jackie Pasley, and I manage this program. And I am happy and delighted to be here. And I just wanted to share an update as we get to the final stage of this program. I want to start by talking about assessments, and because I believe that would be the thing that's on everybody's minds at this point as you draw closer to the end of the training or the end of the course. And I want to start by saying an update from Heart is that we have only 50 persons, or a little bit over that, persons that have registered on their system. And I believe we have about 67 persons in this session this afternoon. So I just wanted to get an understanding, and if you don't mind just dropping a message in the chat, just to share with me what are some of the reasons why some persons may not have yet registered on the Heart system. I'm going to be looking for those answers in the chat very quickly. For those persons who have not registered. Now, I know that there have been some challenges with the system. And so, okay. Louis, I'm going to ask you to reach out to me directly via email. I'm going to drop my email in the chat in a few minutes, so I can respond to you directly. All right, Bayan, I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name. When you say you haven't made up your mind yet, what does that mean? In terms of doing the assessment? Okay, I see that with those responses as well. Some persons are still not getting through. Louis, I'm going to ask you to reach out to me directly. My email address, I will drop in the chat momentarily. Okay. Tamara, were you at the orientation? If you already have a course or have registered for a course in Heart, it means that you have to reach out to them directly because you're not able to register for 2 courses at the same time in their system. Okay, see that response as well. Not getting through. All right, so for the persons who are not getting through, I checked in with Heart this morning before joining this session, and you should be able to, for the persons who have been having challenges getting onto the system, you should be able to access the system now. They did have some challenges, and I know some persons were able to get through, but for those who have not, still don't have a registration in the system and intend to register on the system, you can do so today. If you are not registered on the Heart system, please note that you will not be able to do the assessment when that time comes. And so it's important, very, very important, that you make a final attempt at registering on the Heart system. Be reminded also that it's not just the registration on the system that completes the process for you with HEART. There are some supporting documents that you must provide, and we're going to ask that you send those documents in as well. HEART has advised me that the exam date, there are 2 exam dates, one that will happen in June, which is next month. They don't have a final date as yet. And they will be communicating the date with you directly via email at the appropriate time. And for persons who miss this window, you will do the exam in November. Okay, so 2 exam dates or period, June and November. If you are not registered currently, your opportunity to do the exam in June might be, there could be some challenges. That's why I want for you to make every attempt to get onto the system and to register as quickly as you can. For those who missed that window, your exam is going to be in November. And for the persons who already have a course, who have registered for a course, I'm going to ask you to reach out to HEART directly, and they will be able to provide a response. I'm going to drop 2. Well, I believe, Kadia, can you share with me if the persons in this session have access to the email or know the email addresses, the persons at HEART that they must reach out to?
Well,
if they have a challenge?
They should. It's in the course folder that they all have access to. But I think one of the issues they're having is that, as Tamara is saying, HEART is not responding.
Okay.
Guys, please drop your question in the Q&A. It's difficult to scroll through the chat to find the questions, guys. Please drop them in the Q&A. Christine had a question. Christine says that she did a social media course and wants them, she should still register. Yes, Christine, because it's a different course.
It's a different course.
I don't know if you can register, because I'm not sure if they have issued the grades for social media. So you may have a challenge in register. Right. So Tamar says you don't have any active courses, but if you have not been issued grades and a certificate, HEART still considers that as active.
That's correct. I've just dropped my email address for those persons who may not already have it. What's the name of the gentleman? The gentleman from the Bahamas. I'm sure you know who I'm referring to. I'm going to ask you to reach out to me directly, please, so we can I can answer your question directly.
Guys, Bjorn, drop your questions in the Q&A, please, not in the chat.
Kida, you want to just monitor that Q&A for me? I'm not wearing my
glasses. Yeah, sure. Is there a cost? No, there's not a cost, Dorian.
No.
They want you to share the exam dates again.
All right. So we have exam dates set for June and November. We don't have the actual date in June for the exam. I did try to get that information before joining the session today, but unfortunately that information is not yet available. They will reach out to everybody that's registered on their system directly via email. This is HEART, so you can expect an email with the exam dates. To be reminded that you have 2 exams, a multiple choice paper and your practical task paper, okay, that you'll need to complete.
Right.
All right.
Tamar says that she got all her certifications from VTDI, so she's not sure what's happening. Tamara, honestly, you may have to go there. You may have to physically go there or try to get them on the phone or something. Sometimes there's oversights in the system. Tamara Gibson.
I'm making a note of her name so I can have her take a look directly at her application. Tamara Gibson. Okay.
Yeah. Bjorn says, I miss what you said about Jamaica, about November, and some of us still haven't gotten a date for the social media assessment.
Yes, well, I'm aware. So the persons who who have completed the social media, you're in social media course, your exam date will also be set in June, for June sometime.
Right.
Don't have the actual date, but you can expect to sit that exam in June.
Right. So pretty much what this is sounding like is that heart exams are in June and November.
And November, that is correct.
You fall into either one of those categories based on when you're registered and when your program is. Okay. So Christina is asking if both the multiple choice and practical will be in June.
I am not able to confirm that. I know for sure that the multiple choice paper will be administered in June. I believe what will happen is Hart will issue new dates for the practical task. Just as a reminder as well, you'll have to physically go to one of their locations to do, and they will advise you which one, to do the multiple choice paper. Okay, so you'll have to use one of their exam locations to do this exam.
And guys, the exams are in person. You have to physically show up at the centers to do the exam. Somebody's asking Jacqueline if they don't want to do the assessments, if they will still get some kind of certification from Kingston Creative, like maybe a certificate of participation.
Right. A certificate of participation will be issued by KC. Yes.
All right. So if you don't want to do the assessments, you will still get a certification of participation from Kingston Creative. Is there a separate practical exam from the one that we're doing next week? No, the one that you're doing next week is an in-course assignment. It's not an exam.
Right.
So that's an in-course.
Sorry, go ahead, Katie. I was just going to say that it will help you in your preparation for your practical task.
Exactly. Exactly what I was going to say as well. So what we're doing next week, guys, is the in-course assignment, and the in-course assignment is designed to help you prepare for the practical side of your final assessment. Okay. So if I haven't gotten the certificate for previous course, there's no possible way to do this current course, even with proof that I did the exam. Nicholas, I'm not sure, but how hard set up, if you have not graduated and gotten your certification and stuff, they still consider you active and they won't allow you to do 2 courses. So I don't know if there's going to be any kind of exemption that can happen for him. Jacqueline, I don't know if you can make any intervention on his behalf.
They can make provisions, especially if he has completed the process. I believe that there's a way for them to make some exemptions there. I don't believe the exemptions are allowed in every case, but in a case where he has pretty much completed the course, then I believe that this is something that they can fix.
All right, Nicholas. So reach out directly to Jacqueline, and she will make some interventions on your behalf as well. Do we all get a certificate from Kingston Creative whether we do the assessment or not?
It depends now. So we'll check the register, see what the attendance was like, and there's some other factors that will determine that. So not everybody.
Because some of y'all don't do your assignments, and I will be reporting.
That's correct.
Yeah, you can't get a certification of participation if you didn't actually participate. See how that works, guys?
Correct. That's correct. I'll come to 1 or 2 classes, and
yes,
not for 7 course. All right, there are no more questions I can see, unless we have another.
Any more questions, guys, about the final assessment or registration or what happens after this program ends? Any other questions? Guys, don't tell me that you understand everything and you don't have any questions and then don't do what you're supposed to do and then complain that you cannot do your assessments, Ask all the questions you need to ask now, please. Jacqueline, Jacqueline will have it on record that they say they understand and they don't have no questions. So we don't want to hear anything after this, man.
That's right. So I take it that we all understand. However, My email address, I've dropped it in the chat. I will drop it again for those of you who may have missed it. Please reach out to me directly if you have a question after we wrap up here. Oh Lord. Okay, there. I can't ask you to drop it for me. I not wear my glasses and I'm not.
Right. I have 2 raised hands. Louis is from the Bahamas. Hi, Louis. Louis. I know Louis was traveling earlier. Louis? No,
his hand
not
is
hearing
raised,
from,
but his mic is
yeah, not hearing from Louis. Carl, you have a question, Carl? Carl?
Mark, Carl, can you unmute your mic?
Yes. Good day. I was asking you just to repeat exam dates. There was something on the internet and I got bumped off. So
there's no date.
I don't have actual dates, but you can expect the exam to be done, to be administered in June, and there'll be another one in November. But Carl, if you have not yet registered on the HEART system, are you registered on the HEART portal for this course?
No, Mom. I will try it today again. I was having some challenge.
You don't choose.
Well, we're hoping. Okay, no problem. We're hoping that you will make the exam that will be administered in June. HEART will reach out to you directly to let you know which one of the dates you will be doing the exam. I don't have the actual date in June. They will communicate this with you and to all the persons that have registered on their system directly, well, via email.
Okay. The next question is, can you do the final assessment if you have not done the in-class assignments?
Yes, the answer is yes.
Okay. Do we have the option to choose when we sit, June or November?
If it is that you are registered to do the June exam and you want to defer till November, there is that opportunity to do so. Yes.
Right.
It's
so
just that if you are not in the June list and you're expected to sit in November, you will not be able to sit the exam in June.
Right. So basically, if you're on the June list and you're supposed to sit the exams in June and you miss the exam for a good reason, they will allow you to resit in November. Okay.
That's right.
Will the final HEART presentation be the same case study as in the class? I said, no, it won't. Why would it? Guys, yeah, I think I answered the question about resit, Kavir. Kavir is saying, can you resit if you failed?
Yes, there's an opportunity to do resits. Yes.
Is it paid?
No, you wouldn't have to pay.
Okay. Clarify, please. Registered on HEART platform and did the social media course. Was I required to resend my ID info to Kingston Creative again? Well, you didn't send your ID info to Kingston Creative, but you are required, Claudia, to register for each course. And it's the same registration process. So yes, you have to resend your documents. And you have to re-register for a new course. Guys, social media, digital marketing, 2 different courses.
And on that point, remember your registration is not complete. You have not registered for the course on the HEART portal and submitted your documents that are required. That's what completes the process for HEART. Okay.
All right. So I think that's it. So Jacqueline, we have a holiday on Monday.
Yes.
And then we come back on Wednesday, and that will be our first in-class assignment presentation, like the final presentation. And then we have one the following Monday, and then that will be the end of the class. So Jacqueline, what happens at the end of the program?
At the end of the program, participants can expect HEART to reach out to each person that is registered on the system, and for persons who qualify, they will receive a certificate of participation from Kingston Creative.
All right. Louis, are you back, Louis?
Yes, I'm here. I was trying to unmute, but didn't get my hand on the button quick enough. Yeah, I was just concerned. I sent an email to Jacqueline Just concerned about a few things, and she could address those for me. That'd be fine.
Okay, great. I will respond to you directly, Louis.
Thank you.
All right, no
Great.
problem.
All right, I believe those are the questions. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. And you can listen out for or look out for your email from Heart. I'm hoping that everybody who is not yet registered on the Heart system will make an attempt to do that between today, tomorrow. I'm going to strongly recommend that you do that if you have an interest in doing the assessment, especially if you want to do it in June. And good luck in your exams. Katie, if I have an opportunity, I may actually join the session next week, Wednesday.
Awesome,
So
that would be great.
Just to see the various assessment stuff that's going on there. Okay, enjoy the rest of your afternoon, everyone, and take care.
All right, thank you, Jacqueline. Sure. All right, guys. So yes, so we know that exams are in June or November, depending on when you register and which group, because they place you in groups. So if you're put on the list in the June group or in November group, then that's when you're sitting the exams. The exams are in person, which means that you are expected to show up to do the exams. If you can't show up to do the exams, then that should be communicated. Just not showing up is not helpful. That should be communicated so that some kind of exemption can be made for you. And so when they're offering receipts, you will have an opportunity to receipt. But if you don't communicate and you just don't show up, you can't just show up for the receipt either, right? So you have to communicate whether or not you'll be available to do that. What else? Yeah, and if you've done the social media course before, you still have to register again because it's a different program. I'm not sure why you guys think you wouldn't have had to register again, but yeah, it's a different program. Louis, is your hand up again or is that a fluke? Louis? 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 No, okay. All right, guys. What else did Jacqueline say today? So at the end of the course, some persons will get a certificate of participation. Drop your question in the Q&A, Louis. I'll try to ask you to unmute, but you weren't unmuting. Some persons will receive a certificate of participation, but that really depends on if you actually participated. And I see somebody asked if you can do the final assessment without doing the in-class assignment. Why didn't you do the in-class assignment? So the answer to that is yes. Unfortunately, persons who are put on the list is not dependent on their participation in the course. Honestly, if it was up to me, it would have been different. But the smart thing to do is to participate in the in-course assignment, because as I said, it was developed in such a way to help you pass the assessment. So if you've never attempted the in-class assignment, you're going to go into the assessment blind, and it's not going to work out very well for you. I can promise you that. So at least attempt the in-class assignment. Katie, will you hosting another social media program? I assume the reference to that course is the one you offered. No, the social media course is another Kingston Creative X Heart X IDB Love program that I teach. And that one I did that one in November and the next cohort in January. I don't know when these programs are going to come around again. I don't think there will be any more for the rest of the year. And so I don't think there will be another opportunity for you guys to do that for the rest of the year. What I will be doing is I will be doing personal training under my brand, which is DDA. If you notice, my name is Katie, DDA instructor. DDA created the actual course that you're going through now, and it was certified by Heart. That's what I do for a living. Create courses for institutions, and I teach. So I will be doing my own short courses The longest courses I do on my own are 2 days. So they're crash courses. I do mostly crash courses. And the next one I have that I've been promising to do from December is a crash course on social media. And what I'm pretty much going to be looking at is the social media platforms themselves, how they work and how you can use them. And that one is going to be, not sure yet. But that's the next one I'm going to be doing because persons have been asking me about that. Yes, you can go and find replays of the social media course on Kingston Creatives YouTube channel as well. All emails are in the resource folder. Thank you, Daniel. All emails are in the resource folder. All emails. Okay. Louis, I think that's something you should discuss with Jacqueline. I don't know the answer to that question. Anything else, guys? Anything else? I know we were supposed to do some presentations, but time always gets away from us. But I'll make sure that definitely on Wednesday, in Wednesday's class, yeah, we're just gonna do the guest presentation and then we're gonna go into, so if you're a group and you want feedback from the group, yeah, Wednesday for sure. I'm gonna dedicate an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours to that on Wednesday. Any other questions, guys? Anything from today's lesson, from previous lessons? Last class recording has not been uploaded yet, no. Let me tell you something, guys. I was in this mad hurry. Oh my God, I have to upload the classes right after. You guys are not watching the replays. You guys are not watching the replays. So I don't want nobody stress me out about uploading nothing because y'all ain't watching the replays. But yeah, that's going to be up today. That's going to be up today. In fact, I'm going to put today's recording and last week's recording up between today and tomorrow because there's a little bit of editing that I do with them. So it takes a little bit. Okay, that's good, Loy. Loy says she's watching slowly and trying to apply the info in my business as I go. Will there be a review class? Not sure. The last time they offered a review was because the exams, it took a while for them to actually set exam dates. So there was a review class, but not sure if Kingston Creative, if you guys request a review class, they may oblige. But I mean, it's May and the exams are next month and you have the replays and you have all the course material. So I'm not sure if they're going to be inclined to do a review class for exams because you can literally go and watch your replays of the videos. So they may do a review class if it's in November because there would have been this massive gap of time between the end course and so, but I don't think there's going to be a review for June. That's why you guys need to do the in-class assignments. Practice. All right, guys, we have another quiz coming up. I'll be sending out that quiz by Friday. I want you guys to attempt that quiz and see how you fare. Because remember, the first part of the assignment is a quiz. The second part of the assignment is a practical assignment. So I gave you a quiz and I gave you, and now you have the in-class assignment, which is practical assignment. It's all to help prepare you for the final assessment. Okay. Some of the groups are not functioning the way they're supposed to function. As adults, I don't see why you guys find it so difficult to agree on a time to meet and actually show up to meet and actually make decisions. I don't know why you guys find this so difficult to do, but some of the groups are just not functioning at all. And I'm not sure how I can help you guys because what can I do? I'm not sure how I can help you guys, to be quite honest. Because reasons, well, listen, the assignment is to help you prepare for the final assessment. If you don't want the big pretty art certification, the certificate, practice. This is really good practice. So you can because reasons all y'all want, but if you go into the assessment unprepared, I don't want nobody say, kid, I don't want nobody call my name. Because I did all I could do to prepare you guys. And I don't think you guys are taking the in-class assignment seriously. And that's only going to be to your detriment. It cannot be to mine. I am not sitting the final assessment. It's not me want the certificate. I already work with heart. It's not me want the certificate. So is yourself you're doing a disservice, right? Take the class assignment seriously. It's good practice. If not for the assessment, for yourself, because you need to learn how to build digital strategies for your own business. It's good practice. Nicholas says it's excitement. I can see the excitement in the work, Nicholas. It just needs to be tapered down a little. Claudia says, exactly, because I made sure that the in-class assignment was based on part B, because you can get lucky with a multiple choice, but part B is actually asking you to do some serious work. And if you can't produce it, right, can't pass the assessment. And that's 60% of your grade. 60% of your grade. Well, the practical exam is not an exam where you're going and sit. It's a group. I think it's group based. In fact, I actually think you're going to be paired with somebody, and it's all you have to put the presentation together, record it, and send in both the recorded presentation and the PowerPoint or whatever tool you're using. Yeah. So I think you get 3 weeks to do it or 2 weeks to do it. I think it was 3 weeks. I think it's 3 weeks you get to complete it. Yes, it's not something that you're expected to do right away. It's you're creating if I said to you guys that your in-class assignment is to help you prepare for part B, which is your practical, why did you think it was something you could just sit and do one time? No, you're going to have to put something together, present it, and send that presentation in. Why are you guys mighty God and merciful? You have Zoom. You have all sorts of different tools that you can record something in. When you guys want to record things to put on Instagram, want to find ways to record it. No, I don't want any of y'all stress me in 2022. In the year of our Lord Google, I don't want none of y'all stress me. It's not that deep. It really isn't. Guys, did you know that you could actually record your videos in PowerPoint? None of y'all stress me. You can literally record yourselves in PowerPoint. Video and audio. Why y'all stressing? I think y'all like stressing yourselves out. Y'all like stressing yourself out. Yes, Shauna, and I've seen some really good Canva presentations in some of the last courses. Some really good Canva presentations. Testing your interpersonal skills. All you have to do is present your work. Is your work. Guys, on no workplace, on have to make presentations and talk about the things and meet in a meetings and them something. While I'm surprised at how you guys act all shy, like, oh, y'all went through high school and university and college. Don't come here and act brand new. Please, don't come here and act brand new. Like, oh no, what am I good? Stop it. Stop it. All right, guys, it's 1 o'clock. Stop stressing yourself. Tools are all over the place and they're all free. You just need to put your strategy together. And then this is why we say, somehow no, I think if we do the in-class assignment, I want to get the next assignment for the honor already of the in-class assignment as a base. Support information, anybody? We not think. Let me stop record.